this message.
You still there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me grab the charge. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
I was told to deliver this message.
I'm Laker family. It's your brother Landon X, and we live for another installment of Nation Town TV Live. And we got our brother Malcolm Flex himself. Yes, sir, brother. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All praises due to Allah. Now, real quick, as the brothers can see from the caption that's above this video, the two subtitles or the two titles that we're dealing with, or topics that we're dealing with, is your boy Joe Biden, first and foremost, with the "You Ain't Black." We're going to go into that from two sides. We're going to deal with what Joe Biden said, his history, but also somewhat of a debate that's been going on through social media and the conscious community about blackness itself. We're going to touch on that a little bit, but let me start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God who appeared to us and to you in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are forever due. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. But please let me be clear that when I say that Muhammad is his messenger, I'm speaking of none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, with all due respect and gratitude to Allah for revealing the Holy Quran, his word from his mouth, into the heart and the mind of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah 1400 years ago. But see, the Holy Quran made us a promise that certainly a messenger would be raised for every nation. And in this nation, this man you see on the screen right now, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, is that man. And I would not know anything about Master Fard Muhammad. I wouldn't know the most honorable Elijah Muhammad from a hole in the wall if it were not for this man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those three great names, I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Now, with that said, as I said, we're going to go into the Joe Biden situation. I touched on it. Brother Malcolm Flex, a.k.a. Brother Alfonso, he touched on it on his YouTube page, Malcolm Flex. TV. Definitely subscribe to that if you haven't already. But now we're gonna deal with it, tandem style, and also go a little bit deeper. We both went deep, but we're gonna go a little bit deeper. But we're gonna deal with some good news. We're gonna talk about nation business a little bit, and we are very much aware of what took place, unfortunately, in Minneapolis again. Before it was Philando Castile, now Minneapolis is turning into a hotbed. But wherever this devil is, his tentacles have reached all over the world. But in Minneapolis, brother George Floyd was murdered in cold blood by the police. And we're going to touch on that by intertwining it into the topics that we're going to deal today. But Brother Alfonso, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. After you give your salutations, dear brother, go ahead and kind of refresh the Nation Town audience on how you feel about Joe Biden's comments, basically saying that, we don't vote for him, then we ain't black.
Right. You said before I give my salutation?
I mean, after you give your salutations, of course.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes. In the name of Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, who traveled 9,000 miles to redeem and save lost and now found people. And he raised up one from among us who is our leader, our eternal leader of the nation of Islam, the last messenger and exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and one whom he left for us a son in our midst, who is our leader, teacher, and guide, who is the current Messiah that is in our midst, and that is none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I greet you all, the viewers, with the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. And I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nation Town TV with my brother Landon X Collins. And yes, just a response to Joe Biden's conversation with Charlemagne. And one thing that I noted on my show, and I'm sure pretty other people have also spoke on as well, that no white man, especially with the record, that Joe Biden has with the crime bill and mass incarceration, can validate your blackness. I mean, too many of these devils come among us, and excuse the language, but this is because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, wants us to grow past that language. But it's okay to call it for what it is. It's devilishment, right? Meaning that these people are nefarious people, and they try to come among us as if they are our friends and our closest allies. So what they try to do is try to appeal to our emotions. They try to appeal to our desires. They try to act as if they are one of us and they belong among us. Okay? But why did Muhammad make the devil study from 35 to 50 years just to be allowed to come among us? And we wouldn't kill him as quickly. Right? These are the lessons that black people that we have to study, that was given to us by our Savior, Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. They try to come among us, playing the saxophone, doing the latest dances, shooting a little hoop, using a little slang and catchphrases to catch our attention and steal our votes. Right? So this devil, right, and I'm not going hard on him just to endorse Trump, because we don't endorse neither one of them, a Democrats or Republican. But this in particular devil, he knows that the black community is in love with the Democratic Party. So what he intends to do, because he was the vice president of the real first black president, President Barack Obama.
Come
He's
on.
trying to use his cunning, and he's trying to, again, appeal to a black audience and try to make himself look cool, look fly in front of black people in order to get our votes from Donald Trump. So thus you have the phrase of, if you don't know whether to choose between me or Trump, then you ain't black. Okay? But just like our brother, not brother Dimitri, there's another brother Derek said on Twitter. He said that if you, speaking to Joe Biden, don't know the difference whether if you white or black, then I guess you ain't gonna be president. To something to that effect, I'm paraphrasing. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? Again, I don't want to go ahead of Brother Landon, but I do just want to say
Go ahead.
that black people, we have to stop. We have to actually wake up and stop allowing these people to hypnotize us, okay, and put a trance on us, okay, and just do whatever they want with us just because they try to talk and look and act and dance like us. Okay, and I'll pass it back to you.
Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. That's right and exact, dear brother. And for those watching, and if you've been under a rock, or you just been high, or whatever going on in your life, no judgment over here, Nation Town TV. We're gonna play it again, basically exactly what he said to Brother Charlemagne, for those who did not see.
The former vice president growing visibly testy a little bit after it was insinuated that he had not done enough to prioritize the black community.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something.
So, and like Brother Alfonso said, Joe got caught trying to be cute. It's an old saying they used to say in the 90s, man, you ain't got a lot to kick it. And the Democratic Party has had a chokehold on the black vote for going on 60 years. So he showed two things. He showed his disrespect for the black vote and black people in general, but he also made a blunder. They call it a blunder in politics, where you say something that could actually make your situation much worse than what it could have been. But here's the thing that really makes it bad, like Brother Alfonso touched on, is this man's record. And we're going to go a little bit deeper on the crime bill. Keep in mind the actual name of the crime bill. It's known as the crime bill, but it was the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. And I find that interesting, considering that we just had another brother murdered by the police, caught on camera. Keep that in mind, caught on camera. We get murdered by the police on a regular basis, but every now and then it's caught on camera. So what I want to do, speaking of catching stuff on camera, I'm going to show a little bit of an interview that Joe Biden did, where he was actually proud, even giddy, and even arrogant about the fact that he drafted, meaning that he wrote, that he conceived the actual Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. And we're going to go over some of the actual effects, the wicked side effects of that crime bill, as well as some facts and receipts that some of the viewers out there probably did not know. Pay attention.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the '94 crime bill." You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
And by the way, we talk about this mostly in terms of Black Lives Matter. Black lives really do matter. But the problem is institutional racism in America. That's the overarching problem that still exists. And we should be talking about it. And you look at it, the legacy of racism in housing.
I mean, you see how proud he was? He sat back. In fact, I drafted the bill. Like I said on the last episode, I mean, he make it like he produced the Chronic, like he produced College Dropout, like he produced, every Outkast album, like he just made a classic. And from a Wicked standpoint, he actually did. But here's something that I wanted to get into, Brother Alfonso, when it comes to this crime bill. First, I want to point out three major things that the crime bill did to us. These are just the top three.
Go ahead.
First of all, it expanded the death penalty. It expanded the death penalty by adding 60 new ways. 60. To my Brown family watching, 60 new ways that you can get the death penalty recommendation. And then after the crime bill was passed, statistics showed that 74% of the people who are recommended by the DA to get the death penalty, 74%, that's 3/4. That's damn near 3/4 were black or Hispanic. And they added new ways for you to get the death penalty. We've all heard of the 3 strikes law. The 3 strikes law, the federal government didn't force the states to follow that, but they did push a strong mandate and gave the states the legal right. See, when the federal government allows something for the states, that means that even if somebody tries to take it to the Supreme Court, it'll still get knocked down because the federal government has already shown that they support it. And then we all have heard about the 3 strikes. That's where if you stole a car the first time, and then you got into a fight and knocked somebody out the second time, and then you stole a candy bar the third time, then you go into prison for the rest of your life. And that has filled up the prisons here on the West Coast particularly. Now, before we get into, but also a third thing that it did, it really energized the school to prison pipeline. Those of you familiar with sports, you may know that in baseball, they have something called a farm system. Interesting word, farm system. And with the farm system, that's how you have minor league teams in every little town. And you got AA, AAA, single A, and you work your way up. And then hopefully you get sent to the major league. You get to play for the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Braves, that kind of thing. And what we have in America, especially after the crime bill, is a farm system for the penitentiary system. Here in LA, you got YA. Every city, you got juvenile detention centers. But what it does, they also put police officers in schools. I believe they call them, in most states, they call them SMSs. These are actual police officers. They took the security guards out. They took the hall monitors out. You remember the hall monitors? And they replaced them with police officers where you could actually get charged with an actual misdemeanor or even a felony in the hallways of middle school and high school. So they trumped up, for lack of a better word, the actual school to prison pipeline because it's always been a farm system with public schools. That's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan calls it the killing field. But with that said, Brother Alfonso.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm sure you're very forthright, and you probably revealed this information on Malcolm Flex TV. But as a brother who yourself in your other life, before you came into the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you had to deal with the legal system.
That's
and you
right.
dealt with it after the crime bill was passed. Tell us what that did to you. So we can hear from the God's mouth, not the horse's mouth, but from the God's mouth, how this crime bill is affecting us, and could have took our brother, a brilliant brother who's been spreading the knowledge and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The crime bill could have took him under. Just give us your experience, Brother Alfonso, on that whole situation.
Right. Yes, sir. The crime bill really affected more people who had drug offenses. But a lot of times, there were sentencing disparities. Okay, so basically to say that what black people are being sentenced for and going to jail and going to prison for, the time that they're getting, white people can go to jail for for the same exact crime and basically get lesser time. Okay, so something that they'll give a black man 6 to 7, 8 years for, they'll give a white boy 2 to 3, 4 years that what they done gave to that black man. So one of the major flaws that was wrong with that crime bill is sentencing disparities. And another thing, when I was doing mines, and one thing that I've seen a lot, that there were many brothers there who had life sentences and had struck out for just as little as a nickel rock or a $10 rock or a nickel bag of weed. Okay, so to hear Joe Biden all of a sudden, saying that he don't believe that people should get locked up and go to jail and go to prison for drugs. And he said that he's been pushing this for years, since 1994. But the problem is that he had no power. If he didn't agree with it and want to go with it or not, he had no power then to change it. So now here it is in 2020. Thousands of lives have been devastated by the penal system for minor infractions because of the quote-unquote Biden-Clinton crime bill. It was dubbed after Joe Biden and Bill Clinton. And Bill's wife, Hillary, who referred to young black men as super predators. So when we understand it from that context, we see the agenda and we see the plot to take masses of black and brown men and women off of the streets. And to our people who are ignorant, I say this with love, because us in the Nation of Islam, we know our brothers and sisters are in love with the Democratic Party and would refuse to vote for Donald Trump. But what we are telling you is, and what we are appealing to you is, that you are voting for the lesser evil. You have only two options. You have Satan and you have Lucifer. Who was Lucifer in the Bible? Who was Lucifer in the scripture? Lucifer was an angel, was a devil masquerading around as an angel of light. So when you see people like Joe Biden trying to present himself as he's all righteous, that he loves black people, he has a black agenda that I showed on my show a couple nights ago to try to appeal to black people. We don't need Joe Black agenda. We have our own black agenda in the Nation of Islam that we've been offering to our people. Okay? But we are so in love with the Democratic Party that we don't see them and on one side patting us on the back, and on the other side they got a knife 6 inches deep in our back. Okay? And we got to wake up. We ain't saying go and vote Republican. We not saying go and vote Democrat. We saying vote black. That's what we saying. We need to start our own party, like Minister Farrakhan said, called the Justice Party, to where we have members within the black community or the original family who will represent us, and they will represent our interests to the rest of the world. Go ahead, Brother Landon.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. I mean, that's pretty much it. But it was, I was, thank you for giving that direct perspective, because what happened with the crime bill, like Brother Alfonso said, what he said was correct. It primarily dealt with, drug-related crimes. However, the crime bill was the most sweeping judicial and criminal act posed by the government, the federal government, perhaps ever. So whenever, this is how the legal system works in America. In fact, if you go into any complaint, any actual court document, whenever a complaint is filed, they always cite previous cases and previous laws and other things that may not directly deal with that case, but they cite it as a means to say, look what happened with this. So since y'all allowed that to happen, you should let us do this. So what the crime bill did, it opened up the floodgates on the state level as well as the federal level, where now these devils can get away with things that they could not get away with prior to. And one of the effects of that was what we see going on and being abused here in Los Angeles are gang enhancements, where one brother who's a neutron who don't bang steals a car, and then another brother who has any kind of ties to any kind of gang affiliation steals the same kind of car the next night. You know, the brother with the gang enhancements can get much more time than the brother who didn't. And there's a controversy going on right now in Los Angeles where police were actually putting brothers on gang enhancement paperwork, even though they were not affiliated with any gangs. Now, we're going to take a quick break, Brother Alfonso, but when we come back, I'm going to dedicate the next receipt that we drop to our lovely sister. She's our sister. I'm going to dedicate the next receipt to Candace Owens.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, she's one of the top defense attorneys for white supremacy and white people. I love my sister. I pray that Allah wakes her up, you know, and, you know, right as she laid beside her husband that you see pictured right here. But she's the type of person where when we talk about something like 3 strikes law and the crime bill, these type of Negroes representing the white supremacy that they love so much will jump up and say, well, if y'all wasn't selling dope, it wouldn't matter. Maybe you should just stop selling crack. Maybe you should just stop breaking the law, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Well, I got a receipt for that when we come back from these messages. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum, Islam, Shalom, Mayat, Namaste, and Hotep. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe at Malcolm Flex TV. Press that subscription box and also press that bell for notifications for our latest content on presentation, lectures, reviews, news, and interviews. You name it! And also, if you would like to support your brother, Malcolm Flex TV, you can also go to patreon.com/Malcolm Flex TV, and we would love to join you on our show. Peace and assalamu alaikum.
Just like that, we back. Well, Brother Alfonso, as I promised the people before we went on that break, we have a receipt. We got some actual facts that is specially dedicated to Sister Candace Owens, who is one of the top defenders and defense attorneys for the white man and his oppression and his supremacy over this world. And she is constantly taking that side. She's even, and I got to give it to her, she goes hard, so hard that there are a few Negroes who, you know, agree with her. particularly Kanye West. But it's a lot of other little Kanye West who think, oh yeah, she's just speaking her mind. She's just being different. It's a difference between being different and being a coon. Am I calling my sister a coon? Listen, go listen to her. You tell me where she is. But I'm sure a sister like her, because she ain't the only one. I don't want to just pick on her. A sister or brother like her would be quick to say, why would we even have to worry about a crime bill? Why would we even have to worry about, a law that unfairly, puts us under prison if we were doing what we were supposed to do? We were taking care of our families. If we weren't selling dope, if we were staying at school, we were doing all that good stuff that an honest American is supposed to do. Well, I got a receipt for you, dear sister Candace Owens, and all the other little Candace Owens out there. And you're not gonna take my word for it. Technically I'm light skinned, but I'm too dark for you to believe me. So we're gonna go to the Washington Post. I want you to read this carefully. This is a headline from WashingtonPost.com. It says white people, Caucasians, are more likely to deal drugs, but black people are more likely to get arrested for it. Now that's just the headline. I'm gonna read it again. White people are more likely to deal drugs, but black people are more likely to get arrested. Now look at the top. That's the Washington Post. The Washington Post is one of the biggest newspapers in America. In fact, the Washington Post owns 30% of the entire newspaper industry in the United States of America. In fact, wherever city you're watching this from, there's a good chance that the Washington Post owns your local newspaper. So this is especially if you always believe what white people say, this is a very credible source. And I'm gonna go further. Let me find the rest of that actual article. It says right here, it says even more surprising is what gets left off the chart. Blacks are far more likely to be arrested for selling or possessing drugs than whites, even though whites use drugs at the same rate, and whites are actually more likely to sell drugs. Whites were about 45% more likely than blacks to sell drugs in 1980, according to an analysis of the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth by economist Robert Fairley. This was consistent with the 1989 survey of youth in Boston. My own analysis of data, this is the writer of this article speaking, my own analysis of data from the 2012 National Survey on Drug Use and Health addressed that 6.6% of white adolescents, young adults, aged up to 25 sold drugs, compared to just 3% of blacks. A 32% difference. I believe that's it. 3.2% difference, as that says. So that tells you right there. So it's not just a simple, Sister Candace Owens, of us just being good, honest Americans. You go find me a good, honest American. At that little cheese and wine party, or whatever that is that you at right there, show me a good, honest American. And I bet you can't find not one like Abraham going into Sodom and Gomorrah looking for one righteous. I bet you can't find one. But if you want to play that card, understand the fact that white people are not only more likely to sell drugs, but another survey also showed that when white people are pulled over by the police, they have a higher rate of being found with drug contraband on them. So how is it that they're more likely to sell dope, they're more likely to have drug contraband on them, but they're less likely to be in prison? Something is wrong with that picture. Tell us what you think about that, Brother Alfonso.
That goes back to the racial disparities that I mentioned earlier. And this history, this history in America has a long history of that. Why? Because when you go back all the way down to the founding of this country, in the Constitution, we were never considered equal with white Americans. We were never even considered equal with anybody that wasn't even black. We were considered 3/5 of a human being. Okay? And basically, we had to fight with this country just to give us basic liberties that any normal human being should get automatically when they're born. And they gave us liberty. They didn't give us freedom. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked in What the Muslims Want and What the Muslims Believe. He said that we want a complete complete freedom. Okay, so they didn't give us that though. They gave us emancipation. They gave us liberation, basically to say that that they're letting us go from bondage, but we are still under their control. So they want to sell black people the illusion of inclusion, and they want to sell black people the the what's the word for it? The Maya, or the veil, or the illusion that this is a democracy. America is not a democracy. America is a republic. It's nowhere in the preambles. There's nowhere in the pledges. There's nowhere in the Constitution where it says that America is a democracy and America is for the people. But they go all the way around the world to other countries trying to push democracy on other countries just so they can have the people to rise up against their leadership and to throw coups and murder their leaders in the name of democracy, in the name of freeing the people when she herself is not free. America isn't free, and the people, you really don't have a choice who becomes president. They would like to give you the illusion that you have a choice and you can pick and choose. But what about the last election with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but Donald ended up winning the electoral vote, and a lot of people are saying that Hillary should have won, and they gave it to Donald anyway. What about when George Bush was going against Al Gore, and George Bush's brother was the governor of Florida, and they found thousands of ballots out there in the ocean in Florida? Okay, so they would like to think that you have a choice. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches the people, and he teaches his students, that you didn't see the process of selection before the process of election.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Very well put, dear brother. Now, keep in mind to all our viewers chiming in, we are keeping an eye on the comments. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely hit us up. I saw an interesting comment from, looks like Sage Massey Jackson. She says, "What do you mean, vote black? Two people are running for president. Two white people," I think is what she's saying. "Why do we keep doing this?" That's a good question. What do we mean, vote black? What does it even mean to vote black? Well, let me tell you this. And brothers and sisters that know me, they probably get tired of me saying this. Brother Alfonso over there, he already know what I'm going to say. Listen, before you vote for a president, the best way and the blackest way to vote is to vote with a dead president.
That's right.
So again, for those who couldn't hear me, we talking about the black vote. The sister asked the question, what is the black vote? Well, as I said before, apologize for the technical difficulties, the audio difficulties. We also gonna get Brother Alfonso back on. But when you're dealing with the black vote, the dollar bill, instead of voting for president, vote with a dead president. For example, this is George Washington. This is a dead president. He dead to the mud. This is how you deal with it. Where do you spend your money? How do you spend your money? That's the question. That's where Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street didn't come from this major event where a bunch of uppity black folks sat down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they said, here, from this day, henceforth, and forever, we will start this business and that business and that business. It wasn't even about starting businesses. Black Wall Street started from consumerism, not from starting businesses. See, you can create good problems.
It's been going on a long. Yes, Sarah is very.
You can create good problems for your people and for your community when you are constantly spending money with your community. For example, if you go and you support a sister's beauty salon and she's doing your nails instead of somebody else, and now she's coming to work 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and she sees 50 people. She's used to maybe 1 or 2 clients being out there, but now she sees 50 people. Guess what she got to do now? She has to hire help. She has to expand. Then her mind starts racing, and she starts thinking, oh, I can also do this. I can sell purses. I can sell this service and that service. I can start a restaurant across the street. Because every time I have all these clients and they waiting so long, they order food. And people come delivering food. What if I got a restaurant next door? So you create good problems through your consumerism. So the dollar is the real black vote. Brother Alfonso, we talk about this all the time. In fact, and speaking of the federal government, the top 2 employers of black people, number 1 is the federal government. I mean, think about it. Every time you go to the DMV, every time you go, to any government building, you see a lot of sisters working there. That's because the federal government and even the state government are the number 1 employers of black people. You know who the number 2 employer of black people is? It's not Coca-Cola. It's not GM, General Motors. It's not McDonald's. The number 2 employer of black people behind the government are black-owned businesses. Outside of the government, nobody employs more black people than black-owned businesses. And we don't even support them. In fact, if we spent just 10% more of this, which means a dime. Like if I spend this every day with black people, but I level up a little bit, I go from spending $1 every day to $1.10, and then every other black person bumps up the same way and adds just 10 cents a day more to black businesses, that would create 1 million black jobs just like that. And what are we always begging Joe Biden and Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and the federal government for? Jobs, jobs, jobs. It never fails. We always begging somebody for something that we can create with ourselves. And the biggest myth is that we have to create it by creating businesses. No. Black Wall Street was started with consumerism. Now, you can say, well, they didn't have a choice. They couldn't go to South Tulsa and spend their money. They would have got lynched. You're correct. You're correct. But we've seen 3 brothers be lynched, having been lynched just in the last 3 weeks. Brother George Floyd, yesterday, we had our brother Aubrey in Georgia, Ahmaud Aubrey. We had our brother, I believe, in South Carolina and sister in Kentucky. So we're still being lynched. And we really are still being forced. So the force has not stopped. It's just not a legal force. So we think that we have all these options. I can go, I can spend my money at this Starbucks, at this movie theater, this over there, that over there. And that's the biggest trick that we fell for after the Civil Rights Bill was passed. Before the crime bill, the Civil Rights Bill was the worst thing to happen to black people before the crime bill. And I'll stand on that for as long as I live. So once again, we apologize for the actual technical difficulties there with the audio. Brother Fonzo, you still there?
Yes, sir.
All praises due to Allah. Now, I still want to encourage all those listening to hit us up. A lot of y'all hit us up when there wasn't no sound. Hit us up with your comments and your and questions or whatever it may be before we close out today. But Brother Alfonso, tell me a little bit, deal, because the sister asked the question, what do we mean by the black vote? And is there anything you want to chime in as far as that's concerned?
Ask that one more time.
Yeah, the sister asked the question in the comments, what is the black vote? I think she misconstrued what you were saying, and I think when you said black agenda, she took that as meaning a black vote.
Right.
And tell us what you mean by black agenda, and what you think we can do from a political or even economic standpoint.
Right. Just for clarity, for those who don't understand, for those who only think that the white European system is the only system, one thing that you all have to understand is that power is backed by economics. Okay? But when you go to the voting polls and you go and vote for a political candidate who don't have our interests, have our best interests in mind, then you have to understand and realize that it is all symbol, no substance.
Right.
What black people need is actionable items. What black people need is tangible solutions. We thought President Barack Obama was going to be the answer to all our problems. And many of us foolishly said, in my opinion, that he ain't the black president. He don't have to cater to black people. And when he went up in there into the Oval Office, that's exactly what he didn't do. He catered to immigrants. He catered to the LGBTQ community. He catered to the Jewish community, okay, and did nothing for black people. As a matter of fact, unemployment is higher when he was in office than Donald Trump. And these are the stone cold statistics. So you mean to tell me that Donald Trump cared more about black people than the actual first black president, President Barack Obama? Okay, so that goes to show that regardless of who is in office, that we can't give 100% faith in this political system. Why? Because there's too many hypocrites in politics. Okay, many of them make promises they know damn well they're not going to keep once they get into office. Okay, and we don't have enough in us to apply the right pressure. What did Dr. Martin Luther King say? What did the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say? When we boycott with our dollars, and we're going to recirculate the pain. Okay, how are we going to recirculate the pain? By quit spending our black dollars, which is our ballot that we can use to vote with, right? And quit spending it with our enemy and spending it with each other so we can grow our own economy. We can build up our own communities. We can hire our own police force to police our own communities. Okay, we can have our own businesses, our own housing, our own grocery stores and supermarkets, our own restaurants. Because every other civilized people have all the necessities of life that make them a nation. So with us being 40 to 50 million black people here in the hills and wilderness of North America, who there are only 8 nations in the world that has an economy that is greater than our own. Black people here in America, we have $1.2 trillion dollar spending power. Okay?
Right.
There's only 8 nations that has more than what we generate just as black people here in America.
No.
So we are the richest, brokest people on the planet. No wonder why the enemy do not want to give us any separate states and territories of our own, just like we had during the time of Black Wall Street, Tuskegee, Oklahoma, which is Landon's hometown. Just as Jesus said in the scripture.
Yes, sir.
About Jesus in the book of Matthew. Well, about the Son of Man, excuse me. He says, lightning shineth from the east, even unto the west. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Wheresoever the carcass is, the eagles are gathered together. So this is a prophecy given to us by Jesus, saying that there will be a Son of Man, a holy man that will travel from the east to the west. We believe in the Nation of Islam that Allah came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. He is that Son of Man that traveled from the east and raised up a dead people in the west. And as you can see, when you hindsight 2020, you can see that black people are the representation or the symbolic carcass that Jesus prophesied about, and those eagles, okay, are the scavengers who are eating off of black people, meaning they're eating the lifeblood, which means money, out of black people. And as you know, on the American flag, the animal that represents America is an eagle.
Right.
Okay, but I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Yes, sir, dear brother. Now, if somebody was watching Nation Town TV right now and they played a drinking game and they took a sip of some whiskey every time we use the word black, they'll be passed out by now. Now, one thing that I see on social media now is, and I put it right up there with Flat Earth, I put it right up there with all this other stuff, other, religious and philosophical gang banging. The whole thing about us being black at all. Are we even black? Should we even call ourselves black? Does it even matter? And what does that word black even mean? Are we talking about a color? Are we talking about some type of nationality status? What do we mean by black? Now, the people that perpetuate that argument the most, no matter what's going on with our people, no matter what's, and I'm going to touch a little bit on the George Floyd situation in Minnesota in a minute. But our brothers and sisters in the Moore Science Temple, and our Moore brothers and sisters, who I have a great deal of respect for, they will stop the whole conversation no matter what the topic is and say, hold on, brother, we not black. And white people not white. So you tell me something, Brother Alfonso. What do you think about that whole argument? And should it even be an argument? And just give us a little insight on how you feel about it before I spew how I feel about it.
I believe that we have too many petty arguments and petty beefs among one another, just as you always say. What you look like two black men arguing in a burning building. And another thing that we all have to understand is context. My context of what black is may be different from your context of what you think black means. Okay? Now, if you want to define black how you want to define black, that's fine. Okay? But that's not going to stop the enemy sicking his dogs on you. That's not going to stop that white man putting his knee at the back of your neck.
Right.
That's not going to stop Becky from calling the police on you, acting as if you are attacking her just because you asked her to put a leash on her dog. The
Now,
enemy
hold
don't
on,
care
brother
nothing
Alfonso.
about your color. The enemy don't care nothing unless you white. The enemy don't care nothing about your religion. He don't care whether if you are Moor, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hebrew Israelite. He didn't ask you none of that. Just as Minister Farrakhan said, is you black? Damn it, is you black? Okay, are we under the same plights and the same horrible conditions? Are we in the same wilderness and hell in North America? Do we have the same oppressors? Do we have the same objectives? Do we have the same goals? Okay, because that's what matters. You know, us tripping on a few words when just recently,
Come on.
there was a brother in Louisville, Kentucky, was murdered over a gas pump. See, we got so much self-hatred that is embedded within our minds and our hearts for ourselves that we strap up every day. Okay? We strap up every day with a gun on us, just ready to kill another nigga. Excuse the expression.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But the moment the enemy pull out a taser and some pepper spray, we running for the hills. See, so now we have to get our priorities straight, and we have to stop being afraid of this enemy and letting him define what is blackness.
Come on.
Go ahead, Brother Landon.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Now you brought up a good point that got my mind kind of going, because I'm gonna lean in a little bit on this one, Brother Alfonso, because I've been kind of quiet on the topic. You know, I made a post on Facebook that was dealing with, you know, our people, as I always do. And in the post, embedded in the post, I pointed out that some of us will, it was dealing with the Joe Biden comment, and I put it in the last paragraph of the post that some of us won't even deal with what this man said. Instead, they'll just come in and say, well, wait a minute, we ain't black anyway. And lo and behold, if you go and check out that post on my personal Facebook page, it was a brother who came in and started going back and forth with another brother about the whole black thing. So I'm going to respond to that whole argument. Again, I have nothing but love and respect for the Moore Science Temple, our Moore brothers and sisters. When you go to any Savior's Day, especially in the last 40 plus years, you will see a very large contingent of tassels and fezzes at any Savior's Day. And these are brothers from the Moore Science Temple that respect the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They respect what we believe, and a lot of what we believe is congruent. So this ain't knocking them. But I'm going to tell you what that whole argument and arguments like it, because let's face it, it's not the only one. I'm not just going to pick on our Moore brothers. You know, you see it from our Hebrew Israelite brothers who will pump the brakes on a whole conversation, on a whole movement, based on whether or not they feel that the person that's talking or the person that's pushing the movement understands that we're the real children of Israel. I'm going to tell you what that is. My last episode of Nation Town TV, I went into some of the code words that are used in politics. And one of the codes and one of the tactics that's used in politics that we've adopted from our enemy is the use of filibusters. Filibusters. Now, that might sound like a slang word you might hear on the West Coast, but what a filibuster is when you know the other party is about to pass a bill that your party does not want to get passed, and you know the president is going to sign that bill, but you know there's also a time limit. What they literally do in Washington, D.C., they get up on the rostrum or on the podium which they're allowed to do, which they have a right to do as congressmen and representatives of the people, and they just start talking. Sometimes they'll start talking about something that has nothing to do with the bill. But what they're doing is running out the clock like they do in football, where they just kneel to keep the clock running. Or in basketball, brothers just be, dribbling around, don't even take a shot, just running out the clock. That's what it is. A lot of us don't really want to do nothing about this enemy. Don't want to do nothing about this wicked world we live in. Don't want to do nothing about the salvation of black people. So what we want to do, we want to, number one, we want to sound smart. And then number two, we want to filibuster our salvation. Because a lot of us, low key, are in love with this white man's word. So we're more comfortable with sitting back and arguing and debating about a damn word when, like Brother Alfonso said, your context may be different from mine, than actually doing something to help our people. Now let's go into the context that we use in the Nation of Islam when you hear that word black, specifically the Asiatic black man. First of all, if you say black ain't a color, brother, I agree. It is not a color. It is the essence in which all color comes from. In fact, it is the color that God himself is fashioned out of. How do I know that? Well, the Moors, when they greet each other, they put their hand over their heart and they say what, brother Alfonso?
Say it again.
Say Islam.
Oh, right? Yes, sir. Yep.
They put their hand over their heart and they say Islam. Well, let's go into a little bit of Islam right now. What does it say in the Holy Quran as it pertains to blackness? Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. This is from the Holy Quran. Check out the section that you see. It says, section 3, the devil's opposition to the righteous. This is ayat 26. It says, and surely we created man of sounding clay. That means clay that can be manipulated and can do things. You can make stuff out of it. But it says sounding clay of black mud, fashioned into shape. And the jinn we created before of intensely hot fire. Now that can be related to the white man, the Caucasian. But I'm going to read that again. And surely the we in this is Allah. Think about that. Why are they even using the word we, the word we to describe the one God? We created man of sounding clay of black mud, not light-skinned mud, not polka dot mud, not Moor mud, not Hebrew mud, not American mud, not Crenshaw mud, not LA mud, not Chicago, Southside Chicago mud, not Bronx mud, not Brooklyn mud, not North Tulsa mud, black mud. And fastened it into shape. Yes,
Brother Landon, I don't mean to cut your bill, but I'm getting news reports right now that they starting a riot in Minneapolis.
Man, thank you for that update, brother. Now,
yes, sir.
And I'm gonna touch on that George Floyd situation because I'm gonna show a little bit of the video, a little bit. It's very depressing to watch it. But as Brother Alfonso touched on, when that was happening, in fact, I'm gonna show it to y'all. I'm not gonna show the whole video, but I want you to watch it carefully, staying on the topic that we on. I want you to watch it, and I want you to wait for the moment where those police officers, where those wicked, devilish police officers stop and say, wait a minute, Mr. Floyd, what do you believe? Are we the real, are black people the real children of Israel? Are you the real Hebrews? Are you even really black? What do you call yourself? Maybe we'll let you up. I want you to watch this and wait for them to ask that. Oh, wait, spoiler alert. They never asked that. But I want you to see this. And like Brother Alfonso said, that never comes up. This little petty arguments that we have in the so-called conscious community. These supposed to be the woke black men and women, the wide awake black men and women. And we straining on the neck and swallowing a camel. Well, this is the camel that we actually swallowing, and that is the oppression of this devil. Now pay attention to this.
Please, 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 I can't breathe. Please, man. Please, somebody help me. Uh-huh. 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 Oh. Uh-huh. 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 Please, man. I can't breathe.
Well, you got him down, man. Let him breathe, at least, man.
I can't breathe.
I've been trying to help out. So let him breathe, lift him up.
There you have it. So, did you see a part where the police said, okay, we'll let you up if you answer this question correctly? Are you the real Hebrews of the Bible? Are you black, or are you American, or are you Moorish? You know, are you a Muslim? Do you follow Elijah? Do you follow Farrakhan, or do you just follow Elijah? You notice that never came up? You notice they never asked that question? The devilishness in their heart saw a black God and said he must die. Even though the only issue was, I believe, a forgery claim. What happened to, our Moorish brothers? They lean heavily on the white man's law and legal system. Whatever happened, having our day in court. I heard a brother say on Facebook, well, if you go in court talking about you black, you going to jail. That's if you even make it to court, brother. That's even if you make it to court.
That's right.
And they can stash something, and and like I was talking about gang enhancements earlier, they can put something on your jacket that's so heavy that it ain't nothing you can say in court because of your blackness. Now I gotta touch on this, and I appreciate Brother Alfonso with that update that right now they riding. I hope they ride in the white part of Minneapolis too. I hope they tearing down,
That's
the
right.
Minnesota Vikings stadium. I hope they tearing down the stadium where the Minnesota Twins play. I hope they doing that too. I hope they not just tearing down their own community. But let me point this out on this topic about blackness. One of my Facebook friends brought up a great question, Brother Alfonso, this past week. I forgot his name. I think his name is Brother Brian. But he asked the question, how is it that the sun is so bright and it's so big, is many, many times bigger than the earth, but every time you see satellite photographs of space, it's always dark. It always looks like nighttime. But here on earth, we think the sun goes up and the sun goes down. That's because when you're looking at satellite photos, first of all, when you look up at the sky at night, you're looking at the true color of the universe. When you look in the sky at daytime, you're seeing sunlight bouncing off the ether particles in the sky, making it to appear blue. And the same process happens with water. That's why water looks blue from afar, but when you get into the water, it just looks like Aquafina. It just looks like Arrowhead. It just looks like, any old, Fiji or whatever. But the true color of the universe is darkness. But it's not darkness as in the absence of light. It's darkness that is material. The same material darkness that God himself fashioned himself out of.
That's right.
Now, everything that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us has been taken, flipped, stepped on, bootlegged, and reproduced and given to the people under a different name. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught by God in the person that the moon was once a part of the planet Earth. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, white folks and a lot of Negroes doing what white folks do laughed at the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now the white man has continued to study, and he realized that, yes, the moon used to be a part of the Earth. Now they call it the fission theory. The fission theory. Google it. The messenger has been telling us for years to eat 1 meal a day. And you'll live longer, you'll live better. And now the white man calls it intermittent fasting.
Right.
But he also taught us about the triple darkness that God fashioned himself out of, and now the white man calls it dark matter. What is dark matter? Dark matter is a form of matter thought to account for approximately 85% of the matter in the universe and about a quarter of its total energy density, or about a kilogram per cubic meter. The reason why it's always quote unquote dark in space is because you're not looking at the absence of light. You're looking at material darkness. And that material darkness holds up all those planets, the sun, the moon, the stars. So what you're looking at, that darkness in the background, is the darkness of the hand of God. And the only material darkness that exists on earth right now is you and me. If any Aboriginal man or woman looks in the mirror, you looking at material darkness. This is material darkness that can be fashioned and shaped and manipulated. It can be cut, it can be moved, it can grow, it can shrink. That's material darkness. So when we talk about the blackness, we're talking about that same blackness that God fashioned himself out of. We're talking about the same blackness that he fashioned us out of black mud, as teaches the Holy Quran. So when we talk about blackness, we're not talking about a Webster's dictionary definition. See, maybe the white man is your God, but we don't go off of that God. We go off of God, the God, and we go off of science. And like Brother Alfonso was alluding to, it's not what you're called, it's what you're called for. It don't matter what they call us, black, polka dot, darky, pickaninny, coon, whatever. What are you called for? What is your calling as an Aboriginal Asiatic man and woman? What is your calling? To just sit around arguing about words and semantics with your brother? Or is it about actually doing something? And again, when our brother, may Allah be pleased, Brother George Floyd in Minneapolis, the latest victim, they didn't ask him what he called himself. They didn't ask Sandra Bland what she called herself. George Zimmerman didn't ask Trayvon Martin what he called himself. And when we kill each other, we don't ask ourselves what we call ourselves. It's just ignorance and white supremacy, whether it's a white man doing the killing or us. It's ignorance and white supremacy. Anything you want to add to that, Brother Alfonso?
No, I think you basically covered it all. I do have to get ready to jump off because I got a live stream after this.
Yes, sir.
But I would like to say, to my family again, do not be deceived by the snares of Satan. And do not see, our votes become cheap when we don't respect not only our votes, because our ancestors fought, bled, and died just to vote, but our votes become in vain when we vote people in office, whether they be Republican or Democrat, okay, and we don't receive anything in return. So let's not let our votes be cheap little pieces of paper that really didn't mean much except for the enemy just to get him or her into the Oval Office. And that's all I would like to say from there, and just leave it at that.
All praise is due to Allah. And if you have to use, I agree with Brother Alfonso, but if you have to use a little cheap piece of paper as your vote, let it be this cheap piece of paper. Support black businesses, people. Stop treating black businesses like they're a shrine. Stop treating black businesses like it's just something to just point and look at, and then you turn around and give all your money to white people. Everybody is going to be upset as you continue to see George Floyd, as you continue to see Ahmaud Arbery. But listen, what would you say to a prostitute that constantly complains about her pimp, but every night she runs to his Cadillac or whatever he's driving, and she reaches in her purse, and then all that money that she worked so hard for, that she gave her whole body up for, she puts it right in that pimp's hand. The same pimp that she called you crying about, saying he's so mean, he's so disrespectful. What would you say to that prostitute? what would you say? You would say, well, damn, if he's that mean, at least stop paying him and get away from him. I got your message, Brother Alfonso. Appreciate you coming on. Shout out to Brother Alfonso, Malcolm Flex TV. He got a live stream coming up right now. Check him out on YouTube as well as Facebook, Malcolm Flex TV. Subscribe to that. Also subscribe to Nation Town TV. But right now, we're essentially prostitutes because we're constantly crying about this pimp, this Caucasian pimp, but we never doing about it, and we constantly paying them. We constantly in line for the new Jordans that ain't even new Jordans. They actually old Jordans that came out 30 years ago, but now they charging even more for it for the same damn shoe. Jordan is 50 pounds heavier. You know what I mean? He probably can't even drop 5 in the NBA game no more. He old. Got him a little 4 foot tall white girl. And then the majority, 90% of that money don't even go to him. It goes to Phil Knight and his family. These are Ashkenazi Jews. To my Christian family, Ashkenazi Jews believe that Jesus should be boiling in a pit of his own bosom. That's in the Talmud. Look that up. So with that said, to my family in Minnesota and throughout the Midwest and throughout the nation, listen, man. You know, this rioting, I understand. We mad. We mad. But if you really mad, come out of her, my people. Come out of Popeyes. Come out of Foot Locker. Come out of those nail shops and beauty shops, and you walk in and the person standing behind the chair don't look like you. Come out of there. Come out of Macy's. Come out of their kitchen. Stop letting them feed you. If they so mean to you, why are you letting them feed you? Why are you letting them teach your children? You want to go to a good school. You want to live in a good neighborhood. How is it good when your neighbor looks like George Zimmerman? How is that school a good school when your child's teachers look just like the police officers that killed George Floyd? They look just like the police officer that killed Sandra Bland. How is that good? Consumerism is our key to salvation. You want to see a Black Wall Street? Keep your money in the hood longer than 6 hours. Some of y'all got that stimulus check. First thing you did, you jumped on the highway. Your poor brother with a little shop over there, you went right past him. You waved at him and went straight to the same white man that you swear up and down is so evil. But with that said, man, I appreciate y'all chiming in. Apologize for the technical issue. Shout out to our comments and questions. Shout out to Sister Anissa for peace. The people had better get close and connected to Allah, our Creator, first. I know that's right. That's real. Support Black brother or sister, same sister Anissa for peace. Support Black business. Hashtag forget the devil. I know that's right. Who hates you? What the hell do we look like giving allegiance to a corrupt oppressor? Like absolute fools who hate ourselves. That's what we look like. We look like fools and prostitutes. You know, and at some point, God is going to get, it says in the Holy Quran that if it pleases him, he'll choose another people in our place. He ain't gonna keep, like old Christians say, God look out for fools and babies. We act like fools and throw temper tantrums like babies. That's what we do a lot of times in these riots. And we're like the babies of the white man. We're like the children of the white man. But Allah, he ain't gonna keep looking out for fools and babies. He ain't gonna keep looking out for fools and babies. So in this quarantine, in this time, let's make sure if you really are against what this system is doing, stop feeding the system. If a dog is biting you, stop feeding that dog. So with that said, family, I appreciate y'all chiming in. Again, it's Nation Town TV. Shout out to Brother Alfonso X. We're going to try to do this every Tuesday, myself and him. Also, keep it locked to Nation Town TV as we do our revolutionary relationship. We did a show on polygamy. You're not gonna find that show on Facebook. You gotta go to patreon.com/Nation Town. We busted up polygamy for what it really is.
In fact, if you go ahead and subscribe and go to patreon.com/NationTown, you automatically get $5 off plus $10 off any NationTownStore.com subscription. So once again, family, I leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Please be safe. Please be smart. And please accept your own and be yourself. AYO. So again, thank you for your time. And be safe, Minneapolis. Be safe, Minnesota. I know y'all mad. Hell, I'm mad. I'm mad. But I'm gonna show it with action. Not by busting the window. But I'm gonna make that bitch that throwing something through that business window. I'm gonna make sure that business gets closed down because they can no longer afford to have a damn window. If you feel what I'm saying. With that said, assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message.